You're listening to the Game Tenants Podcast. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Game Tenants Podcast. The failed adventures of two guys and their quest for Gamecast stardom is episode 30, episode 30. I am your host, Flynn1, with my excellent, non-replaceable co-host,
Church of the Game Grinder.
What's going on, Church, man? We're at the big 3-0, buddy.
Yeah.
We're episode 30, man.
We're finally
milestone.
Passing that hill, I guess. I don't know. Like 30, when I turned 30, it wasn't like, it's like, okay, I'm 30. Like 31, like that's the number, because then
31's the number.
Then you're full on into adulthood. So I think
it's all downhill from here.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, man. It's exciting though, man. 30 episodes. But anyways, we're episode 30. So what you been doing since episode 29, bud?
I have been so busy. Like, it just doesn't seem like I have enough time. Like, not necessarily like gaming and video stuff, but just like so much going on right now. House hunting.
Oh, yeah.
Hanging out with people and doing this and doing that, and started going to the gym with the fiance to kind of support her as a guy who, I never like necessarily like quote unquote skipped leg day like in the past when I used to work out, but I was really half-assed about my legs. Like, I just didn't give them the love. So going to a gym and doing like a class, like it was actually a class, a bunch of people and stuff.
Cool.
So actually like having to stick to the thing and not look like a fool because I wasn't slacking off. Like, my legs, man, like it's not like cardio, or it's like a workout thing, but it's kind of more fast paced. It's for like an hour. It's kind of like a full range deal, but the dude like really likes to work on legs. And afterwards, since I was finished with the class, and up until this moment, it is so freaking hard for me to walk downstairs. Like, not even funny. Like, I mean, it's funny because that tells you like how out of shape like my legs are, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so there's that. But no, I've just been, keeping busy. Been doing gaming, squeezing in when I could.
Nice.
Of course, I talked about the Shantae Half Genie Hero hardcore mode on a previous episode. And
that was, I think, the last episode.
Yeah, and I actually sat down and played it. One correction that I had is I thought that they were reducing the amount of times you can save, but no, they didn't change that. But pretty much, I think it's probably more how the game should have been, like, out of the box. It's a good difficulty. Like, I died many times, took a lot of damage. It's pretty unforgiving. Like, I dug it, but yeah, I got through, beat that. And then a couple days ago, I released, actually yesterday at the time of recording this, I put out another one of my 2016 games I beat but didn't review videos for Valkyrie Profile for the PlayStation 1.
I did see that. I love the thumbnail for that one, too. It really was a big attention grabber because you don't see those colors very often, so it kind of like popped in my feed, which was nice.
And like surprisingly, it's I did the game justice what I could for the amount of time that I was trying to do, just basically giving my thoughts and like the very like basic gist of what the game is compared to doing like the full blown like in depth like this is how you play the game and this is how this works.
Not your everyday kind of video kind of thing.
Yeah, but
you didn't want to be like every other review of it.
Yeah, it seems to be getting pretty good reception like right away, which is pretty neat. So if anybody listening hasn't checked that out, I would definitely encourage you to do so. Then I also finally got a time for the discussion panel that I'll be on with the Old Ass Retro Gamer and Grimsby 42 and Boston Burf and Retro Games Final and Beer. So we had the info that it was going to be on Saturday, or at the Midwest Gaming Classic. For anybody who wasn't aware, the old ass retro gamer had invited me to join them. It's going to be basically a half an hour discussion panel on like YouTube and gaming and everything involved with that. Potentially a crowd of people. I doubt there's going to be a whole lot of people, but who knows? Apparently, these conventions, the Midwest Gaming Classic, is a pretty big convention. I never really asked much about that. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to this because I'm being invited.
I'm excited for you, dude. Like, I don't get to go to those conventions like ever. So you've already gotten to go to, since we met, you've gotten to go to one already, which was the what was it? It was where you learned about the Henshin engine.
Yeah, the 2D Con, which was, I almost don't count it as a convention because it was so small and not really much.
It's still a convention though.
But yeah, so I got the time. It's going to be on April 8th at 5 p.m. And then afterwards, there's going to be like I guess we're doing a meet and greet. So
oh, nice.
That'll be interesting. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine anybody's gonna wanna like be like, hey, cool stuff, man. Or, like, they're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Well, that's how like some of the other people in Game Chasers got noticed too. Like, is because of the Game Chasers just hanging out or being in one of their videos. Like, who's this guy or something? It's like, I guess it's very similar to like if you have a guest star on an album that you really like, and there's one song, there's somebody that's featured. Somebody's gonna go check out their music because they were like, oh, like it wouldn't hinder. I would have gotten slapped for that one, but like when Evanescence was in the song Broken with Seether, like, if you didn't know who Evanescence was, you would have gone and looked up like Amy Lee, and you would have seen it, and then the whole crowd, this is an awesome band. So this could like snowball you into like another big spike in your channel, dude. So I'm really happy for you.
Maybe.
Because you're going to be there with Grimsby, man. You're going to be doing a meetup with Grimsby.
Yeah.
Like,
but, I'm not looking to like gain anything from this. I'm just doing it for the experience and being able to meet some other guys that I enjoy. So we'll see how it goes. I could turn into like a completely awkward, like, card, which is very, very likely. But, yeah, so that's exciting news, and
I'm happy for you, man.
I recently joined a new Facebook group, Midwest Retro Gaming, and pretty cool group so far. It's small, I was like one of the first people to join, and it seems like a lot of people in that group are actually going, so that'll be pretty neat. So I'm starting to meet more people and have another opportunity to meet more people. So. Sweet.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The growing your channel is you'll have more people commenting. You can talk to more people about the stuff you're talking about in your videos. I don't care about the money on YouTube or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's that experience you get with your fans and stuff like that. So this could potentially get you more people to talk to.
Yeah. So
that's what I meant. Sorry if anybody thought I was sounding like a money hungry dick. No, I was like, no, we do it for the experience. Like, this is a hobby. So
sure. So other than that, I finally started playing Mass Effect. And I'm going to hold off any talk about that. For now, we're going to talk about a little bit of Mass Effect a little bit later in the podcast.
Yes, very excited about that.
As long as we don't go like super long with other topics like we
usually
do. So, yeah, besides that, pretty much same as usual on my end. So, what's been going on with you?
A lot, actually. 2 weeks is a way shorter time than I thought, and a lot can happen in that 2 weeks. Been working like normal, but I've actually been able to get back to my YouTube channel, give that thing a little TLC, and it's been awesome. Like, I was able to, like, as I talked about previously, that I'm starting to do more in the Call of Duty scene and stuff like that. So I'm, like, getting more into, like, the competitive scene. So I did my first tournament controller unboxing about the controller they had sent me and just, like, kind of how that was. And that was a really fun video to make. I don't get to do unboxings very much because I'm broke. So I can't do like cool collectors unboxing or anything, but it's, it's fun to do an unboxing again because I used to do those all the time on my old channel, and this was the first big one for this channel, and it was really fun to do. And then I got my very first sniper montage of just kind of how I've been progressing with the competitive class for the sniper.
Sure.
And like
you need to, get a little bit of 360 no scope in there.
So 360 no scope. I actually thought about that while I was editing. I was like, man, I ain't got no 360. I got no scope. Couple no scopes.
So for your next video, like just do as you've been doing, and then at the end, like you could do like slow it down and then like throw some text up, be like hashtag 360 no scope, and then like fail.
Illuminati
like,
confirmed shit.
Then like do it in slow mo and then like just fail horribly at it, and that's
I actually might do that because I still have like.
And
no,
just
go ahead.
throw like a vuvuzela sound, or something.
I think I know exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like,
just go out on
the thing
that.
is I think I might actually do that now. I'm gonna definitely, because I just gotta get another clip of me failing it. Like I just gotta go into a map and like do it. But like no, what's crazy is that is only a third of the clips I actually have. I still have at least 5 or 10 minutes of just nothing but sniper clips to use, and they're all like, you've seen the video, so you kind of know some of the shots I was pulling, and those are my beginning shots. They get crazier as the clips go on, like because my reaction time on some of mine, you've seen, like it's like a kind of like the CS, the Counter-Strike flick with the op.
Yeah.
And like I have that with a controller, and it's like, what's going to happen now? See, like the thermal vision that you can see on the video is right after I started to upgrade the sniper, and then later on towards the ending clips, I get some massive, insane kills that I should not be hitting, and I just hit them every single time. And it's just a really fun. It was really fun to record the footage, but it was also so much fun to edit because I was working on that. Like I was sitting at that 19-hour mark on editing, just getting the timing on the music down and everything like that. And then once it all rendered out, I just saw this masterpiece, and everybody loved it. So it was probably one of my favorite videos I've ever made, for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like
can't
I was
wait
like,
to make the second one.
Like once it started, like you're doing stuff with the music, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, then you noticed it was like a recurring thing, and that's what a lot of people have said. Notice, like, because I like to do that, because like there's one specific shot you think it's like if you guys haven't seen the video, you won't know what I'm talking about yet, but you can always go to my channel and look, give me a like, shameless plug. But like I jumped up and I put it in slow motion, or I didn't put it in slow motion, but you see this like massive jump, and then I go behind a hay bale and pop it. That was like my best kill, but it wasn't my favorite because of the timing of the music. I got this one kill where it was so fast paced, and you think the video sped up, but no, that's actually real time. Where I'm sitting there on this ledge, and I see the guy down to the left of me, and I just sweep down and pop him in the head. Then it goes to the next clip, and that's like my favorite timed clip in that entire video because it goes so well with how intense the music is, and just. It was one of my favorite edits I've ever done. I didn't realize that I had done that well until later on. So until I actually saw the whole video. But yeah, it's been insanely awesome just getting back to the channel and
totally.
And doing that. But actually, before I go on a little bit more about me, I remember, didn't you go somewhere this weekend or last week? And
I almost completely forgot, and not that.
So I just thought about it. I was like, wait a minute,
whoops.
You went and saw somebody, but I was like, you went up and saw a buddy that you
so last episode I mentioned that I was going to visit Corpse Flood, just right over the border from Minnesota and Canada, and I did that. Pretty decent drive. It's almost like a 5-hour drive, but listening to tunes and podcasts, makes it just almost like hanging out any other time. So driving up there wasn't too bad.
Right.
Not much like the area, pretty much looks like a small town here. I guess the joke I was sharing before that was I was like, oh, I'm going up to Canada, and from what South Park has told me that everything is an 8-bit, and I posted a picture from the Stick of Truth. If you've played the Stick of Truth when you go to Canada, the game goes to 8-bit graphics, and it seemed like decent little town. But yeah, I stayed with Corpse Flood for the weekend, 2 nights, and mostly played a lot of Breath of the Wild, which again we'll talk more about that later because I think it's worth sharing some thoughts on that.
I'd love to hear more about it because I don't plan on getting a Switch for a while, but I'm a huge Zelda fan, so
totally. And we did we did some recording while we were there. I'm not going to reveal what that is. I still need to kind of sit down.
Spoilers.
Yeah, sit down and go through the footage and do some editing and put that together. But there is going to be hopefully a pretty entertaining collab coming up here.
Yeah, shoot a link, man. I'll make sure everybody gets it for sure.
Yeah, and then
I'm excited about seeing that.
Yeah, so it was a great time, and I know he's going to be listening. So again, thanks for letting me come up and hang out, and appreciate it, and look forward to doing it again. And there's a possibility that might be tough for both of us actually, but in Minnesota this summer there's going to be a concert, Slayer, Lamb of God, and Behemoth.
Ooh.
It's like a 3-hour drive for both of us pretty much. It's like almost right in the middle, but coming up with funds and having the time, the gas to do that, so we'll have to see, because life, man, adult responsibilities.
Yes. Can we stop adulting for a while? Just be kids again. Just be teenagers again. Fuck it.
Yeah, totally. So thanks for reminding me about that. So
no problem, dude. No problem. And I just want to say again, Corpse Flood, if you're listening, bud, thank you again for stepping in for me. I greatly appreciate that.
Woo-hoo.
I was gonna. I hope anybody else who listened actually, loved him, because I like to have him on and actually get to talk to the guy too. So
yes, definitely.
If you're interested, Corpse Flood, I want to meet you, bud.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. So so back on to you. Anything else cool going on?
A little bit. I'm in the market for housing. Me and the significant other are looking for our first place, which is very exciting, very nerve-wracking. But it's a very exciting ordeal. It'll be my first official, first place, if you know what I mean. Because It's always been they move in or I move in kind of thing. And it's this is the first one where it's kind of around the same time. Really cool, but a lot of stuff up in the air with that. And, very excited to see where it lands. And then a buddy of mine actually picked up a Vita for me. So I've been actually checking out a lot of games on that, and It's been really fun getting to check that out while I'm, taking breaks and stuff like that. And
yeah, I've heard pretty much nothing but great things about the Vita.
It's fantastic.
Especially if you're an RPG person,
Yes.
That is kind of almost the RPG system. I mean, everything else has some really good stuff. The consoles have some good stuff, and 3DS has some good stuff. But really, Vita is kind of where it's at, and a lot of really cool games have been released on the Vita. Gravity Rush, for instance, that was a Vita game.
What'd you say?
Gravity Rush?
Yeah. What about it?
It's a Vita game.
It is a Vita game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had the biggest brain fart ever. I thought you were going to continue on with it. Oh my god. No, but in terms of RPGs, Gravity Rush is definitely one I wanted to pick up for it, and then Gravity Rush 2. But
not RPGs.
Well, no, RPGs, and then
besides
what would you consider besides RPGs? Yeah, that's true. Sorry, my brain went. It's way off into left field for some reason, because I was thinking about it. Wait, but no, Freedom Wars, good RPG. Because I was thinking about that, I was wait, backtrack. But no, I don't know how Gravity Rush would play on the Vita though.
Apparently very well.
Does it?
It did pretty well on the Vita, I think, to warrant getting a port to the consoles. I knew a couple people that did play it, and actually using the motion capabilities. Gravity Rush has some minor motion. If you move, for the remaster, anyways. If you tilt the controller, the camera shifts. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really add a whole lot, but maybe doing that with the Vita, maybe it gives a little extra control for when you're falling and things like that. Yeah. Could be kind of cool if you dig motion controls. I actually ended up shutting them off for the console version, because
I didn't know I had it on the console version when I played it. It is but I mean, the touchpad on the back could help out a lot too. I could see for that type of game. in some sense because it's right there at your fingertips and everything like that. So, but I mean, I might have to try it out. There is a demo, so I might download that and see how it plays.
Oh, that's so good.
But Freedom Wars is one game I had to get back because that was probably one of my favorite RPGs I had on my Vita the first time, and I loved it to death. But in terms of just like overall enjoyment of the console, it's like I remember I'm playing Black Ops, and of course I had to get a Call of Duty for it. I had to. But what I'm most excited about is trying to get is Borderlands, because I love Borderlands. They have Borderlands 2 on there with all the DLC, so I plan on getting that and rocking that with my buddy. So
sweet.
But in terms of like newer stuff, that's really about it. In terms of what's going on new, besides I'm still competing, I'm still doing a lot of that stuff, but I guess, since there's not much updated, we can move into the first topic, considering it is related. So,
yeah.
Speaking of competition, the famous Game Tenants transition here. As most of my viewers know, and most of you guys now, and I know you do, Church. Me talk about competitive gaming quite a bit. Surprisingly enough, for people who didn't used to compete for a while. I've got back into the competitive scenes, and I'm going in for Call of Duty. And Call of Duty just had one of their MLG tournaments, which was CWL Dallas. And if you guys aren't familiar with what that is, that's the Call of Duty World League, which is basically MLG. And so it was a really cool event. There were, I think, over 150 teams that signed up, and it came down to the last four, which was a big one because of course you have your regular phase. You have a brand new team called United, which is kind of like a super team of like a bunch of different players from other teams that kind of got like switched contracts and stuff so they could pull on, because new game, new players, you know how that kind of works.
Sure.
And then, of course, it was Optic. So that was like the trio, and then of course you had what was their name? Splice. So it was like Optic, FaZe, Splice, and United, and everybody wanted that FaZe Optic matchup that they had at that like we had in CWL Paris, which was a month ago. And like everybody knows FaZe 360 no scope, kind of like we were joking about the sniper montage. Optic was also a trick shot team as well. And then Slither and United were two brand new teams. They're very new teams, and they're in the semifinals with FaZe and Optic, two of the biggest esports teams known. And it was just crazy to kind of see, because at the end, FaZe ended up losing to United, and United ended up going up against Optic, because Optic went a 3-0 round. They wiped the entire floor the first three matches, and then, blew away the second day, made it all the way to the grand finals for tournament Sunday or championship Sunday. And like, it was a match. It went like all the way, like, United won the first, best of 5, and then, Optic ended up barely almost got like double reverse, which means, where they basically almost lost the tournament because of a single match. But they ended up luckily making it to a round 11. It was like 5v5 and turned a round 11 into a search and destroy match, and ended up winning it. So I was very excited about that. If you guys can't tell, I'm an Optic fanboy. So it kind of went on like that. Church is like, what the hell are you talking about? But it's any of my Call of Duty fans, people that are coming over from my channel, considering I am pulling on some more Call of Duty players that are going to hopefully be coming over to the podcast as well from my channel, will know exactly what I'm talking about. But anybody else who watches esports or plays Call of Duty, you kind of get a gist of it. But that's something I'm really excited about, because Optic has been a huge motivation competitively for me, and I always enjoy watching them. So yeah, they won.
Awesome.
And so,
it's
awesome
Optic.
to be. It's just kind of an exciting thing, because I'm like back into it again. It's like I don't watch sports, I don't watch regular stuff, but this is like one adrenaline thing that I can watch again and I get excited about. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
It's something that I can actually sit and like actually watch like a sport, and like still be excited about like every match, because you never know what's going to happen. It's like you want to do good in your own game, but if like you want to root for another team. So it's like, if I ever do go full pro and I get in one of those tournaments, I'm still going to have my Optic armband on if I face them.
Sure.
I'll be like, I knew I was going to lose to you guys, but it was fucking badass playing you,
Right.
But, that's shooting for the stars. So, but anyways, yeah, that was, just kind of like how that went. But, enough talking about what everybody else nobody else knows what I'm talking about. There's something I do want to know, and I got to ask you. now that I've got my Call of Duty-ness out of the way and everything, we can talk about something a little more interesting, dude. You got to tell me about Breath of the Wild. Like, what is it all about? I've seen a lot of videos, and I'll put my input on what I've seen based on what I've seen, but I wanted, after you tell me what the game's actually like, please tell me.
Right. Well, of course, no hate on Call of Duty coming from me. So I think that's all
no worries.
Pretty cool stuff. And, it's just like any other competitive scene. Like, if you don't really follow it, like, it's kind of like, okay, I know how everything works, but I don't really know, like, team
right.
That sort of stuff. Like Overwatch, like, I'd watch, like, Overwatch competitive games.
But,
I started to actually know some of the names just because my fiance's brother, he played at pretty high level. So.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you guys are familiar with some of the pro teams for Overwatch competitive.
Yeah. But
nice.
So Breath of the Wild. Of course, up to this point, we really haven't talked much about Switch or Zelda. I think we talked about it like briefly before. And, like, I was pretty dismissive about it. I'll be honest.
Right.
I'm not the Zelda fanboy. Like, it seems like everybody is. Like, the first 4 Zelda games, original, Zelda 2, Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening, I thought were all fantastic games. I've only played Ocarina. I haven't played any of the others. And I played Ocarina just last fall, so
on the 3DS. No, you got the cartridge, right?
I went over to a friend's house and binge played it over a weekend, start to finish.
Oh, okay.
So, I enjoyed it, but I don't know, maybe it's because I didn't play it when it was first released that, and I'm pretty good at, like, playing an old game and judging it for what it is. And I don't know, just didn't really do it for me. And Zelda hasn't been a big interest for me in quite a long time. Not that I have anything against them. Like, I do want to play them. I just haven't had the opportunity and don't really have the motivation to play a lot of Nintendo stuff, like more current gen Nintendo stuff. But Breath of the Wild. So, of course, pretty much everybody bought a Switch for Breath of the Wild.
Yep. Buy $250 cards for one game.
Most expensive game ever.
Yeah. Nintendo knows it's done. They're done.
But of course, they also released it, the last official Nintendo game for the Wii U, and I know a lot of people picked it up for the Wii U as well.
Yeah, I saw that on my Twitter feed as well. So.
Yep, and Corpse Flood picked it up for the Wii U, which eventually I would like to try to find a Wii U for cheap, and maybe I can pick up the game myself.
Yeah. And
some other Wii U games. But, so I was pretty curious. The game gets released. People are, like, losing their shit. 10 out of 10. Perfect game. Like, just going crazy.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical. Nintendo is kind of like a one-trick pony, I think.
Right.
They don't do... people give them all this credit for innovation. I don't really buy it. But, is what it is. Zelda games have always been, highly coveted. And I just couldn't really believe the hype. Everyone is... As far as I could tell, it looked like kind of like a toned-down Skyrim with, like, some different elements added in. Less, kind of piecemeal, like, wasn't a heavy story focus like Skyrim has. And, a lot of those, like, other, like, more intricate details of something like an Elder Scrolls game or a Fallout game or something like that. So I was just really curious, like, I've played so many open world games. Like, what makes Zelda different? What makes it special? So, like I said, I got to play it for quite a while. Don't remember exactly how long we played. We did, we went through a few different areas. Like, we played through the first area, and then you unlock the second section of the map. Basically the whole map. They say it's like open world, do what you want, but you are kind of limited to where you can go. As far as I know, anyways. I could be wrong. I think you might be, like, to some extent at the beginning you can't get out of the main area because you need an item to do so. But I don't know, maybe like 8 hours, 10 hours or so, just kind of messing around, taking care of some of the shrines and doing some random, like, I'm going to go climb up that mountain for the hell of it kind of thing. And
right.
So initial thoughts is I'm gonna say people need to calm down. It is a really good game. Great game. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to play more. So that says a lot. But people clamoring, best game ever made. I don't know. Maybe if I played more, and we were passing the controller and stuff, so and kind of BSing as we played it. So didn't get the full experience on my own, but there are definitely some things that I really, really liked about it. So yeah, it's an open world game. You pretty much, go to where the game lets you. As far as I've seen, we didn't try to go out of the different sections of the maps that were getting unlocked. We stayed there, but pretty much it's a pretty damn big area. Even in the first few hours that you get to get access to. And one of the things that I really like that I'm really surprised not more games have done, but I suspect will be doing, is everything. Well, not everything, but trees and mountains. You can climb them.
Yeah, I heard about that. That seems like
you
cool
just
as hell,
run up to
honest.
it and you start climbing. Of course, you're restricted by stamina, so Link has a stamina bar now, and it starts out pretty low, but lots and lots and lots of upgrades in the game. So
yeah, I heard there's stuff to help you climb faster and stuff too. There's certain boots or other stuff. Cause they kind of took the idea from Ocarina of Time.
Probably.
And, that's one thing at least I saw on IGN.
Yeah, and you can cooking is kind of a big element to the game. You can cook all kinds of crap, make all sorts of potions that do all sorts of buffs, which is neat. But really, as is, it's kind of a straightforward open world game. Less handholdy than most. A lot of games direct you. The game still does. You still have your primary objectives. I don't see myself playing Breath of the Wild any differently than I play something like Skyrim or Fallout. They pretty much throw you in there. Right. They say, okay, you need to do this. And I'll be like, okay, but first I'm going to run around this whole freaking area and do everything first. And then I'm going to come back and do that kind of thing.
So essentially just like the original Legend of Zelda for NES.
Basically,
they kind of went back to the roots in a sense.
Yeah, and that was one of the main things that they're doing.
No hand-holding.
But really, it's I think, as weird as it may be, not necessarily the gameplay itself, but just the little attention to detail is really what made me kind of be like, that's really cool. I'm really enjoying this. Like I said, being able to climb mountains. You can walk up to, I don't know if it's any tree, but most trees that I encountered at the beginning anyways, you can just walk up to it and chop it down. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, you can climb it, but you can also use it kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to explain. I can't necessarily remember all the finer details, but for instance, when Link is using a certain weapon and he shoulders it, puts it on his back, it actually looks like that weapon, which, that's not too out of the ordinary. One thing that I kind of thought was really cool is that, as he's running, the weapon, it, kind of clanks, depending on what the weapon is, on his, back against his belt or something. And I thought that was really neat. Or surprisingly, you don't see this as much as you think you would, but moving through grass, the grass actually separates and stuff. It looks a little kind of janky with Breath of the Wild, but it's still, pretty neat. And other things,
subtle details.
There's actually you have a sound meter, almost like Metal Gear, when you're running, it's loud, big, it's a little Think of like an oscilloscope, with waves.
Okay, yeah.
And you're running, it's like going crazy, but then you can sneak, and you can actually like sneak up to guys, which I thought it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They can incorporate this. I tried making use, I tried sneaking, but at least in the beginning, it's, as far as I could tell, it's like impossible to do. Like you must need like different items or something to be able to do it effectively. Maybe I'm wrong, or we just didn't understand how to do it. But then they also have, and kind of a gimmick in a way. There's a hot and cold meter. So if you go in like a snow area and you're not using like an item that like makes you like resistant to cold, like you will actually like slowly lose health. And same with hot areas. So, all in all, like graphically, I thought the game looked fine. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I was kind of impressed with the draw distance. Like you can actually see pretty damn far. There's definitely like load in as you progress, like, grass and trees will like just pop in, which, kind of to be expected, considering what it is, even like originally developed for the Wii U. There is going to be some hardware limitations. And, same thing with console, PS4s and Xbox Ones. Like a lot of games still have pop in, but there's kind of like this like blind eye like fanboyism going on with it, where people will completely like disregard the game's faults, which it does have faults, and they'll completely ignore those, but then they'll completely condemn other games for having, similar issues, which is kind of frustrating, I think. Like, there was slowdown quite a bit in certain sections. It took a while.
Was it bad, though?
It took a while before we experienced much. Then again, like I said, we were playing on the Wii U, and I know the Switch, when it's docked, actually has like more slowdown issues than when it's in handheld mode.
Because it's kind of like a transfer. It's like casting the video. It's like rendering it bigger or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But didn't experience a whole lot for a little while. Like once you actually start encountering like multiple like characters, like monsters or even just NPCs, like the game like does kind of like noticeably chug.
So you can't pull a shitload of aggro without a little bit of lag.
Yeah, definitely. And there's some other things like one of the big kind of like gimmicks to this game is like you can use like so many things as weapons. Like enemies drop weapons and you can pick them up, but all weapons have durability.
Okay.
And the durability for like, especially at the beginning, like you pick up some of these items like a club or kind of like a rusty sword, like you only get like 4 or 5 hits before it breaks.
So it's like really heavily more RPG based, like because there was like in a lot of zombie games, like I know in like Dying Light, like you can only hit so many times before the weapons like get effective or what's together, or it's like a lot of survival games have that, or survival RPGs have that aspect where you hear or Minecraft even with your pickaxe, you hear like tink tink tink.
Yep.
They're finally actually incorporating that and turning Zelda into a full RPG.
To some extent, but I hate it. I hate the system as it is. Like it's not fun. Like Nintendo's always like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this because it's fun. Like that's what they always claim, anyways. But picking up a weapon, having it break, and having to switch to a weapon, and then having it break, like constantly, just isn't fun.
No.
They need to either increase the durability or something. I mean, I kind of get it, but so now all of a sudden you're playing this game, you're playing Breath of the Wild, you're running around doing this, doing that.
Right.
However many hours in, and you find this really cool weapon. Like, oh man, looks so cool, and it looks really powerful. Are you going to use that weapon? Because it's going to break eventually.
Fuck no.
It's going to break quick.
Unless you can repair.
Now they're actively reducing the fun because you can't. I mean, sure, you can pick up all these crazy. Like, you will find crazy weapons eventually, but you don't want to use them because you're like, oh, I want to save this for like a boss or a hard fight or something, instead of just letting you enjoy using this cool weapon.
Is there no repair system?
I think there is eventually, but I don't know. I didn't get that far. So,
like,
who
if
knows?
there's a repair system, then yeah, that's more understandable of why they did that.
But
it's like if you like repair the weapon, then you get XP for that, or you get an item for repairing or something like that, whatever. Then that's understandable, and that makes more sense of why they're dropping all these different items like so fast.
Sure.
Like, because drop rates in RPGs have always been fluctuating, especially like World of Warcraft, Fallout. It's very weird and like stuff like that. The drop rate in RPGs has been so drastic over the last 5 years, or even 10 years even. But like in a game like Breath of the Wild, they're like. I hope to God there's a reason why there's so many, like the drop rate sounds like it's so high, and the repair system might or might not be there.
Right.
So
usually a repair system is introduced like pretty early on in the game.
Yeah.
And we, I would say like 8 hours is nothing to scoff at. Like that's a decent amount of time put into a game.
It is.
As is at that point, we had done, we got to like the third. I think it was the third area. I could be wrong. We accessed a few of the watchtowers. It's another, and that's another thing is it's handled a little better, but it's another game with watchtowers. Or you got to get to this tower and you activate it, and all of a sudden you can see the map for this area, kind of thing. Like Assassin's Creed does it, Watch Dogs does it. Like a lot of the open world games do that, and people are giving it a complete pass for Breath of the Wild. But the I really dislike the durability system. It's not fun because you get a cool, like there was a couple swords we actually found and like we never used them because we were like, oh, I'm going to save this, So that's a little annoying. And,
yeah, it's understandable.
I was trying to think there's something else, not as major, but, overall, I say it is a pretty great game. I definitely want to play it. Who knows when I'll ever get the opportunity to sit down and actually try to play it start to finish. But I really enjoyed it. I will say nice job, Nintendo. But to everybody saying 10 out of 10, I think 10 out of 10 is a little hyperbolic. The game does have issues, and if you're going to judge other games, for having these same issues, but because it's not Nintendo and it's not Zelda, it's makes these people look like, fanboy hypocrites, which is very frustrating.
Right.
Especially...
Oh, shit, I just had a thought.
Especially connecting to kind of some of the things that I want to talk about a little bit when we talk about Mass Effect. There's things in Mass Effect that people are completely condemning because of,
fanboyism.
Because it's I don't know, but they're giving it a pass for Breath of the Wild.
The thing is though, I played. There was another game they did this with. They did this with Twilight Princess, and if you look at Twilight Princess on the Wii and then the Wii U, or the GameCube and then the Wii, sorry. GameCube and the Wii, it's complete mirrored. It's mirrored.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the 10 out of 10s and stuff, is that the Wii U version or the Switch version?
Oh, it's everybody.
Everybody. I'm wondering if if they did it again and they made the Switch version different than the Wii U version because of
no,
troubles.
It's the exact same.
It's the same. Okay, because I was I swear to God, if Nintendo did that shit again, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah, and the Switch version, I don't know. I haven't played it, so I can't really say. But from everything that I can tell, it seems like in handheld mode, it runs pretty comparable to the Wii U. But I think it does suffer more in combat, or when there's a lot of things going on.
Right. It's there's more pixels on the screen.
And definitely in docked mode. And people, like I said, the game has to completely disregard the slowdowns, which is noticeable. Even to somebody who doesn't care, Like, all of a sudden, the game's, like, chugging down to, like, 20 or 10 FPS. Like, come on. Come on now. You can't.
Yeah, it's like we're having games that are 60 FPS, and, like, people are running with computers running games at 120 FPS. If they can't manage 30 by this point on a 1080p console, or even 720 at this point, like, hell, my computer's slow as shit, and it can still run 720 at 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
On a decently graphic enhanced game. I mean, and my computer's older than shit.
Sure.
Like,
but no, ultimately my skepticism, I put my foot in my mouth. It's kind of hating a little bit on the Zelda hype train, but I will definitely say great game. I would rate it pretty damn high. Then again, I can't because I haven't finished the game or played enough of it to really judge it, because I know there is more story that kicks in, but the way the game looks, like it has more of a cell shaded look, and I'm a huge fan of cell shading.
Oh yes, we mentioned that in one of the very first podcasts.
Yeah,
we were talking about, because we brought up Borderlands 2 and games that were like that.
Yep. Really enjoyed the way the game looked. Like I said, it's neat that it's really reminds me of kind of like original Zelda, which I think is a great game. But of course, I'm for the NES. I think Zelda 2 is the superior of the Zelda games, and I know that's not popular opinion, but my opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna let that one go. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Zelda 2 as well, but I did start off on the first one. And Zelda, I didn't play Zelda 2 until it came out. Remember when the Game Boy SP came out, Game Boy Advance SP came out, and they released NES Classics? That's how I played Zelda 2 and beat it. It was really different. It was more like a Final Fantasy mixed with linear kind of thing, which was cool, but it was like it wasn't what I was expecting. But no, I can understand. But so I guess overall for the because I know I want to hear, because you mentioned Mass Effect, I'd really like to hear what your opinion is on that as well, because we talked about that last time. But before we close out the Breath of the Wild topic, so you'd say it's a discount pickup? It's worth the pickup, but it'd be more of like wait till it's on sale?
No, I would say,
or would you? Is it worth buying the console for?
Not
$250 worthy.
I don't know. That's a tough call. Like, for the Switch, I would say if you really, really want to switch, like, maybe. But if you could benefit from other games on the Wii U, like, there's a lot of other great games on the Wii U, and somebody would be like, oh yeah, I'd totally get those games if I had the system. But I wouldn't. I don't know. If
so it is worth the price tag, though? It's worth the 60 or the 50?
It's definitely worth the 60.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I was asking. It's like I come out on both consoles, but even people that don't have a Wii U, is it worth picking up a system for, or is it worth just a $50 to $60 price tag? So it is worth the price tag? Okay.
Totally. Yeah, I'll give it that much. Deal. And, I mean, obviously it's going to be a contender for Game of the Year. I can't imagine it's
you think so? Is that good?
Well, fanboys, man. Fanboys.
Well, yeah, but like, would you set it up there in the top? Would you like to, put it in that top 10? Like, top would that 10? Do you see it? Do you see it being in your top 10? Okay.
If I could play it to completion, like, that's the thing is, I don't want. Okay. I can't rate a game necessarily. I mean, I can, but I didn't play enough of it
we have on a few.
I can't like give it a rating like confidently, but it's from what I played, I would definitely say it's at least, well, not at least, it's probably like a 9 out of 10.
You say it's a 9 out of 10 based on what you played. How's that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I was just wondering because it's like I know you're a very good judge on games, and I hold your opinion very highly when you recommend or think about something. So, and I know our listeners do too. So, I was kind of wondering, is like, would you think it would be worth that so far? But I hope you do get to finish it, and I would love to see what you think of it at the end of it, and hopefully I'll get to play it by that time.
Yeah, someday I hope to, and yeah. So again, like, just kind of, I'm impressed because they actually. Okay. It looks like I mean, Nintendo does, I'll give them credit. They put some effort into the games, but they do a lot of weird shit. A lot of things fans don't ask for.
But they think they needed it.
But, and they put effort into their games, their Super Marios, their Zeldas and all that, but
it's their baby. They have to. That's what kind of like took them off. Like, you say Nintendo, you automatically think of one of those franchises.
I think for once, maybe it's like, instead of them trying to like be like, oh, we are super innovative, which like again, I kind of argue that point, but instead of them trying to like be like, oh, we're just gonna innovate, they're actually kind of saying like, okay, so this is a really cool genre of game. Let's use that and let's see like how we can like mix some things up. Like, I don't really.
They're kind of taking like note from it. They're learning. Like, that's the one thing I've noticed from like the thing is, like, while they're not exactly fully listening to the fans and stuff, they're learning from like past experiences and how their games have done. Like they're learning from some of their failures with some of the stuff, and like kind of going back to like some of like the bigger roots, like this is a new like kind of RPG style game, and it's like, they're taking from other RPGs that were successful, that people liked, but they just, since they're not familiar with doing that on their own brand, and it's only been done through third-party developers for their RPGs for the consoles, it's still new to them, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it's, or at least it's new to the people who are working on it now, because of course they change out employees however long and stuff like that. Yeah. So we all know how the corporation portion goes and stuff like that, but it's, it's a good shot, and it seems like a very good addition for that genre. Like, it's, it's a pat on the back for Nintendo, but don't let yourself to get too cocky about it.
Right.
So at least that's based on what, you've told me so far. And it seems like a good addition. I'm definitely looking forward to checking into it.
One thing I will say is that it seems like over the time, especially with like Zelda in the last so many years, Miyamoto is no longer like necessarily involved. He's not a producer anymore. I mean, that's the thing too, is people want to give him like all the credit. Like, right. Miyamoto's just been a producer for a while, which doesn't really mean a whole lot. Like, he's just like a bigwig that can walk in and be like, I don't like that. Like, change that or don't do this.
He's become more of a face than anything now.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, it kind of seems like over time, since his involvement has kind of waned in the games, like, they're kind of like moving some of the Zeldas and like A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. Pretty much from everything I understand, like, on par with like A Link to the Past. And A Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda.
I love A Link to the Past.
And I like, someday I will have A Link Between Worlds. I don't have a 3DS. I have a DS.
Right. It's a fun game. I haven't beat it, but it was fun.
But it makes me curious to like, did Breath of the Wild turn out as well as it did because he wasn't involved as much as, say, like some of the previous games?
So keep your hands out of it. It'll be all right.
Yeah. So, kind of all over the place there with my thoughts on Zelda. I hope it wasn't too messy for those listening.
No.
Of course, for those who are listening and want to send their hate my way, you can look up the Game Grinder on Facebook and Twitter and, flame me all you want. But, I'm kind of on board. I think everyone just needs to relax a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you were all over the place. It was, I thought it was very good.
Okay, well. So then, Mass Effect.
Yes, please tell me about this. I know you didn't get to play it very long, but like we've been like talking about it off and on. You got me very curious about it. Like, tell me a little bit about it.
So, have you been paying attention to Mass Effect at all in the last couple weeks?
Not the last couple of weeks, per se. It was more recently once the game came out in full swing and there was footage starting to go up. So I saw a lot of it on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that, and I've already seen memes already.
So you saw the massive amount of hate the game was getting because of the facial animations and some things like that.
Yeah, I saw a lot of memes comparing it to Fallout, and then some of the weird animations compared back to Gmod even.
Yeah,
with G-Man, the stuff you could do when Gary's Mod came out for Half-Life.
So, yeah, so Mass Effect. So, a lot of this information came out. As soon as the game was announced, I'm like, yep, instant pre-order. I wasn't one that
fanboy,
and for good reason. I think
I'm teasing you, Church. Go ahead.
I think fans
because you made the joke about fanboys a little bit ago.
That's a good point because fanboyism. Completely blind adoration and worship of whatever. I'm kind of a fanboy in some extent, but I can complain about Mass Effect. I can definitely complain. I don't like how Mass Effect 3 was handled. With the tacked on multiplayer, the ending, of course, is the biggest controversy. But Mass Effect 3 as a whole, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And once they did release, when they did the DLC, the free DLC kind of expanded ending, even though not exactly what I wanted or how I would have imagined it would turn out, I was satisfied. It's a damn shame that happened. But we all know, well, obviously we don't all well know, but
right.
A lot of us are aware that when a publisher, especially a company like EA, is involved with a game, it's going to suffer, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that BioWare is stuck under the umbrella of EA because EA refuses to release games without multiplayer, where a game like Mass Effect, even though I did, I played the multiplayer for Mass Effect 3. I enjoyed it.
I did too.
It's not something that I could play for a long time. I probably played 10, 20 hours. I played it more than was necessary, which actually wasn't. You didn't have to play the multiplayer to get the best results in Mass Effect 3. But so I've been very excited for Mass Effect. Everybody was excited. A lot of people were cautiously skeptical, and I don't blame them. But then, yes, once the review copies went out and people started live streaming and seeing more of the game of not choice scenes for trailers and things like that, there was definitely some concerns. Animation, some of the facial animations, kind of goofy. Definitely kind of goofy. Some of the walking, I'm sure you saw some of the walking. They look like monkeys at times, kind of, maybe a broomstick shoved up their butt through their spine kind of thing. But
here's the epidural for you, bitch.
But honestly, really go back and play any other BioWare game.
Oh my god.
Kind of how
Such
they
a
are.
great company.
It's kind of how they are. They've never been great at facial animations and character walking or character movements. And
their stories are amazing, though.
People could compare games. They can be like, well, what about this game? Well, it's a different game. I'm not necessarily giving them a pass, but BioWare games aren't just about the graphics. It's
right.
They're about
story.
I mean, it's the story, and I haven't experienced enough of Andromeda yet. So, for anybody just tuning in, kind of wondering where we're going with this Mass Effect thing, Mass Effect Andromeda was just released on Tuesday, and I haven't had a chance to play much, unfortunately. Only about an hour at this point, which is pretty pathetic, and people will be like, well, why the fuck are you even talking about it? But even in that first hour, it kind of gives you some initial ideas of where things are going to go as far as graphics and character animations and things like that. And there is some oddities, but it's nothing too different from many other BioWare games. Like, I came from days of Neverwinter Nights, and some of the walking animations are very comparable to something like, say, like even Dragon Age. Kind of stiff, kind of jerky.
Yeah.
Now, for some reason, I don't know the history behind it, but Andromeda was actually kind of handed off to like one of the like smaller like BioWare development teams.
Really?
It wasn't their main team. I guess a lot of people have left. Like most of like the original like creators, writers, and stuff for Mass Effect were not involved with this one. But I don't know if that's to blame with how things turned out. I think it's a funding, timeline, EA's involvement. It's unfortunate, like, being current year, it's always great to see these like mind-blowing graphics and stuff, but that's not what it's really all about. Like, especially a lot of the people who I'm involved with, tend to be, people who play a lot of retro games and indie games.
Right.
And, they herald all these like Nintendo games, like original Nintendo games and stuff. And like a lot of those games have a lot of freaking issues, and graphics, it's not about the graphics, it's about the gameplay. Like that's when people rip on those games, like when people like younger kids, you think the squeaky screaming into microphone like online multiplayer kids.
Squeaker Squad.
They're like, oh, why the hell are you going to play that game? It's, more than 2 years old. It looks gross. And, people are like, well, it's not about the graphics. It's about the gameplay. And the same still stands true today. It's unfortunate that, the graphics aren't like Witcher 3 or something. But it's just not. It's not BioWare. It's not Mass Effect. I mean, Mass Effect 1 through 3 were kind of janky at times. I mean, Shepard gave some pretty creepy-ass looks and smiles throughout that game. Like...
I remember there was one in Mass Effect 2 specifically at the beginning.
Where he's just he's got this, like, smile, and it's just like... That's,
why?
Like, the most, like, rape face, like, I've seen, kind of stuff. Just because...
Shepard rape meme.
Whatever the technology...
Great memes.
Whatever the technology and the engine that BioWare uses, like you look at, Neverwinter Nights or Dragon Age, Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic,
Ooh,
Mass
Jade
Effect,
Empire.
all these games in, kind of like brass tacks, like they're all very similar in mechanics of like animations and things like that. So I think people need to kind of,
give them a break.
Don't get. I mean, I'm not giving them a pass. Then again, I was just kind of like talking about Breath of the Wild, like having issues. But Mass Effect's always had issues. There's nothing new here, but you can still enjoy a game that has issues, and that's why I say Breath of the Wild. Like, it's definitely a 9 out of 10 game. Where Mass Effect, we'll see. Like, I'm very excited and hope this game turns out to be a 9 out of 10 sort of game. If it's an 8 out of 10, okay, it's still an awesome game as far as I'm concerned. Like, I saw people mocking the game because the Metacritic in the first like day or two for the critic rating was 75, and people are like, "Oh, blunder of the century!" Like. A 75, that's 75 on Metacritic's not bad. That's not a bad game. And that's, that doesn't mean I won't love the game. Like, there's
that's
tons...
that one person or that one group of people's opinion. What people don't realize is these critics and all these rating things, this is going to have to be a topic for later, because you actually just brought up a fire topic here, with me at least. Like, game reviewers and all this other shit is like people either like love them or they hate them, but they got to remember that's one person or one group's opinion. That's not going to be you specifically. So I understand if you go off the rating, but you never know if you're going to like the game until you fucking try it. That's why they still have rentals like Gamefly or something like that. And, and I'm okay with waiting on for a game or to watch somebody else play it or something like that, because a game reviewer that's their opinion, not yours. You know what I mean? And it's like,
well,
if you think of that person's opinion highly, then I can understand, because if you trust them or something like that, like Church, if you were to review a game and give it to me and like say it to me, I'm going to check it out because I trust you, you're a good friend of mine, you wouldn't throw me a shit game. But like John, whatever fuck we want to put his last name as, does something, I'm going to like kind of take his word with a grain of salt, So it's
right.
like,
well, it's not just critic score though. User score for Mass Effect Andromeda has a 4.3 right now.
Ooh.
And
ouch.
This really makes me question like I don't understand what's going on. Like, so some of my close friends, real life friends, we play a lot of the same games, we share a lot of the same thoughts.
Right.
They've been playing Mass Effect. I've seen other people who I know like held Mass Effect in high regard, and everybody's like, it's Mass Effect. Like, what? I don't see.
What do you want?
Like, it's Mass Effect. Like, it's from everything that I'm hearing from people who aren't non-fans or whatever. It sounds like if you liked any of the other Mass Effect games, like this is kind of like on. It's not Shepard, of course.
Right.
We don't have our Tally and Liara waifus or Jack or Miranda or Kaden or Garrus. It's unfortunate. Like I said before, like all those characters, some of my favorite characters, like they deserve retirement. Like they saved the galaxy many times. Relax. This is, like I said, this is a great new opportunity for BioWare to continue in the Mass Effect universe, which is a fantastic universe. Right off the bat, like even in the first hour that I've played the game, like okay, like I'm all right. Well, what are we doing here now? So this is going to be kind of neat because they did some pretty neat elements. I don't think it's necessarily a spoiler. I don't know. But basically them traveling to Andromeda because like you're basically like during the events of the Mass Effect series, in the background, they finally like figured out how to do interstellar travel, like to other galaxies, which in original Mass Effect, you're just in the Milky Way galaxy.
Right.
Like not even the Reapers, as far as I know, got to the other galaxies. So
we don't know what's out there, so it's a whole new chapter.
So Andromeda actually takes like the game, like the initial, like right at the beginning of the game when they're like setting up like the intro cinematic. That's like during Mass Effect original trilogy is going on, and they're like, all right, we're heading out, everybody into cryosleep. 600 years later, you show up in Andromeda, like it's like humanity and life as they knew it is now gone.
It's completely gone.
It's there's, unless like they discover some sort of technology in the game, like there's no going back at all. Like they're at Andromeda, and they're gonna try to populate a planet and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, like I said, I haven't played it enough, so I can't really go into depth. But from what I'm seeing, like it's Mass Effect. I think for the most part, I think the character animations are just fine. I know a lot of people are showing like a lot of like memes and stuff of female Rider.
Wait.
Female Rider. There's Femme Rider and Male Rider instead of Shepard. Sarah.
Okay. I thought that might have been a character name because I'm like, I don't know who's who or who's what.
Yeah, Rider is the last name.
Okay.
Femme Rider is what I've just been calling her because everyone called like, Shepard or Femme Shep. But for the most part, I think it looks fine. A couple parts I was like, oh, okay, that looks cool. I don't really get when people are like, why are they hating on this? And then like there'll be like kind of like a goofy thing. And I'll be like, okay. So now it like really stands out to me when there are like kind of like oddities in some of the animation. But I just got to think back, like, play any other BioWare game. It kind of ends like that. But I'm still super excited to play more. Hopefully I can squeeze in a good chunk this weekend. We'll have to see where things go. Like I said, one of my closest friends, me and him pretty much share very similar views on Mass Effect, and he's like, I'm loving it so far, so that says a lot to me compared to a lot of my other friends who I know are kind of having fun with the memes and things like that. Like, not that I don't value their opinions, but not as many of them have played the Mass Effect games, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. And there's some other things that are kind of getting pulled into the controversy. Like, there was somebody involved in the game, I don't remember his position, that was like saying some like, he was like having all these like racist rants on Twitter against like whites and stuff, and people are like, oh, it's an SJW game.
Wow, they're pulling that shit into it? Really?
And I don't know, I haven't...
Fuck off with that shit.
I haven't seen, if you played any BioWare game, it's all like, you can have sex with whoever the fuck you want, pretty much. Yep. I'm gonna go bang an alien or a robot. Like, hey, game on. Like, it's like, damn, that toaster looks sexy. I'm all for that. In that regards, it's much like, it's much like film. Like, if you honestly cared, like if the actors in the movies that you enjoy, if you like cared what their views were, and if they were like, is that guy a blue collar working American? Of course he's not. Like, that's a fucking Hollywood rich person that grew up pampered and shit, and they, they're disconnected, and they think we're all like morons and they're super special. Like, we wouldn't watch any movies because fuck all those people. Like Tom Cruise is a fucking whack job, but he is a great actor. I never was a fan of early Tom Cruise. Like, a lot of people, like, they think Tom Cruise, they think Top Gun or Days of Thunder or Cocktail, and those movies. Like, when I think Tom Cruise, I think like Jack Reacher, Oblivion, Last Samurai, Minority Report, Vanilla Sky. Like, I'll give him credit. Like, he's a whack job, but I don't watch a movie because I care about Tom Cruise as a person. Like, I'm watching.
Same with Mel Gibson.
Right. Like,
Lethal Weapon.
It's unfortunate. I don't know. Like, I'm not going out of my way to watch like Mel Gibson movies. Like,
but you like him in some of the ones he's in.
Yeah, but he.
Like, I like Patriot. I love Patriot. I love Lethal Weapon.
Oh yeah, totally. But it's kind of the same thing. Like, they're not. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody's a person. Thoughts, you agree with them or you don't agree with them. Like, whatever. I don't know if you can judge a game by like one, like, random like stray bullet of a jackass. And, as far as I know, the dude like left BioWare. I don't know which point, but, I think people are just finding reasons to hate on a game that, I don't know. There's just so much hate, in gaming. Like, everybody's so jaded. Like, we've played so many games and there's like such high expectations for it. It's sad to see that people just can't just enjoy a game and let other people enjoy the games they want to enjoy. Like, not saying we shouldn't be critical about games and we shouldn't, judge companies for bullshit things that they do, because of course I think they do. When I get burned by a game like multiple times, I'm not going to buy that game day one. Resident Evil, for example, I don't have Resident Evil 7 yet. I really want to play it because it sounds awesome, but because
it is
6 was garbage, I didn't like 5. I didn't like Operation Raccoon City. I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah. But no, I get the idea you were talking about.
You've
been burned enough times that you're just careful now.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Mass Effect's the controversies behind Mass Effect right now, especially, is just it's odd to me.
It gets like that with every series at some point, though. It's bound to happen for an ongoing series like that.
Same thing happened with Horizon, though. When Horizon was first, like, review copies were getting out, people were just tearing that game apart for the voice acting and the character animations. And then all of a sudden, a few days later, holy shit, this game is amazing.
Yep.
That's what everybody's saying. As far as I know, people are saying like right now, like Breath of the Wild and Horizon are like 2 games that took the sandbox genre and like did really cool stuff with them.
Yeah.
And of course, I will find out what happens with Horizon once I finish Mass Effect. I'm going to jump into that, but I don't know. For anybody who is interested in Mass Effect and is holding out and not going for the game because they're hearing all this like Mass Effect hate, I would say, ignore that and check it out for yourself, because as far as I know, we'll see. I'll keep everybody informed as I play through, but BioWare is yet to really do me wrong. Like, I love BioWare games. They're just such amazing stories and characters and interactions that we have, and like the emotions that we build with these characters, horrendously ugly or not. I mean, shit. Go back to Dragon Age, like Morgan, like she looked pretty goofy at times, and like Morgan's like one of my favorite characters in Dragon Age.
Oh my god!
Like I don't know. Like I said, final thought on this is next gen graphics are amazing. Not every game can be Metal Gear or Dark Souls or Breath of the Wild. Sometimes they got to work with what they got and, do the best they can. Like the person, like for Mass Effect Andromeda, like the lead facial animator, which people actually like, once they start seeing this, like they did all this research and they figured out who the lead animator was Mass Effect Andromeda was. And it was this woman, like cosplayer. She got hate. Like people sent her death threats and said all this horrible shit to her. And turns out she wasn't even the lead facial animator for Mass Effect. But it's shit like that. Like people go crazy over this stuff. Like,
right.
I don't know. But the lead facial animator, the person who animated these characters, like they weren't sitting at their computer and like, whatever, I'm just gonna slap this together and I have no idea what I'm doing and it'll be fine. Like, these are people, I mean, I could be wrong, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I have to assume these are people who are passionate about what they're doing. I would hope the people working on Mass Effect are like, oh wow, I'm working on Mass Effect, I'm gonna make this game as great as I can make it, And sometimes funding and things like that don't allow for even more like polish. Like the game seems pretty polished so far. Like everything runs smooth, things look fine. Animate, like I said, characters kind of run around like look like they got sticks up their butt, but then again, like I said, BioWare again. So we'll have to see.
Time will tell. Time will tell on that. Definitely,
but so for anybody listening and to you, if I got a little rambly, Breath of the Wild, Mass Effect, I'm sorry. I didn't like sometimes I'll try to put like an outline of ideas and I just kind of want to go off the top of my head. So hopefully I made sense and didn't like circle topics like I tend to do. But I think after all is said and done, we are running short on time.
We are, and usually when we run out of time, we don't get to cover all the topics, but they will always show up later on in another podcast, which we do have a few more things to do before we close out, which if you guys are a veteran listener, since we're at, almost a year and a half doing these, we have veteran listeners now, or at least maybe one or two, hopefully. But anyways, if you guys are familiar with the podcast, we go with the upcoming games in the next 2 weeks or so by the time we do the next podcast, and then we do closing out with upcoming stuff that we got planned. So, Church, what's the dates we're going for, my friend?
So, today, at the time of recording this, the 23rd, so we'll probably look like, 21st to probably the 6th or 7th.
Let's go 7th. 7th's good.
So, yeah, you want to take it away?
So,
of course, Mass Effect.
Yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda came out 2 days ago. There's been a couple other ones that that have been kind of on the radar. There was one called Toukiden 2, which came out for the PlayStation Vita, which I said I picked up a Vita. It's on PlayStation 4 and Windows as well, but it just kind of looks like this really cool kind of like hack and slash RPG style game. I kind of started looking into it because it looked like the title looked like very like a Muramasa title.
I kind of got the feeling that it was like sort of a Dynasty Warriors kind of game, but not.
It seems kind of like it, but like less enemies or more linear.
And a little bit more like maybe like focused. Like instead of having like 100 enemies, you're just going to be more focused on like specialized combat on a few guys or something. But I've heard some excitement for it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the ones I definitely want to check out. I know there's a demo for it, and I'm still waiting for that to download. The only other ones that really caught on my radar coming up, at least because we're going into the beginning of April, are Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 remix. I know my roommate, Russ, I've talked about him a few times on the podcast. He is very excited for those. He's already got a pre-order payoff and stuff like that.
Of course, they're going to put out those games.
I know, it's crazy. Just released a third one, call it good, by God. And then the only other one that's really coming out, I mean, after the 11th, that's when it's going to start becoming real good in the next one. But Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition is one I'm very excited for because I love Bulletstorm. It's if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's a new shooter by the makers of Gears, but it was released on Xbox and PlayStation as well. Very fun game, very Gears-esque, but more of a first-person shooter in that sense. And then, of course, Drawn to Death is finally coming out, which is a fun game that me and my roommate plan on playing. So. Sure.
So, yeah, it's worth mentioning the Bulletstorm is basically it's just a remaster. And
it's the full clip with all the DLC. It's essentially your Game of the Year edition.
Yeah, which
for next-gen consoles.
Yeah, because the game came out like 4 years ago or something.
I think it's going on 6, to be honest.
Jesus. I mean,
it came out shortly after Gears of War 2.
Yeah, and it was a fun game. Like, I don't know. I thought it was fun. I didn't necessarily regret purchasing it, but $60. It was kind of short. Got kind of like a little weird at the end, and the ending wasn't the best in the world. But hey, you get to play as Duke Nukem in this one, which is weird. But all right, that's something. Actually, since some people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy it just because it has Duke Nukem in there."
Right.
Duke Nukem's not a horror. Okay, let's give him the respect he deserves. Which is kind of weird. But
any that catch your eye though coming out?
Oh yeah. So there is some games not necessarily that I'm going to be picking up because they're not on systems I might have, or games that I just haven't gotten into yet for series, but I've heard a lot of excitement about. Has Been Heroes is coming out on the 28th, like all platforms basically, and it's kind of a roguelike.
Okay.
That I've been hearing lots of cool things about. I think it's related or similar to maybe like Shadowgrounds Trine or something, if you're familiar with those games. There is also one that I don't know if I'll be able to pick it up right away. I really, really want to buy it like the day it comes out, but I don't really need to. And hopefully maybe I'll get a little cheaper. Is the Parappa the Rappa remaster for PlayStation 4. Very, very fun game. Those who might not be familiar, it was kind of like one of the early rhythm games for the PlayStation 1 about basically like a anthropomorphic like dog kid that's a rapper, and it's it's cheesy, it's silly, but it's fun. And so the raps are actually like kind of funny and enjoyable. So it's really cool that that is coming back after like 20 years. Of course, there was some sequels like Jammer Lammy and Parappa the Rapper 2.
Yeah.
Yes. Then there is also Persona 5.
Yes.
Which I had a pre-order for the collector's edition, but I had to cancel it because I'm trying to be a little bit more responsible at this time anyways with the upcoming house purchase and things like that.
Right.
So since I haven't played many of the other Persona games, I only played the first original Persona Revelations, I decided to cancel my pre-order for that, sadly, but hopefully I'd like to get around to that eventually. And then I've heard some other people talking about Muso Stars, which is kind of
it's a battle game.
Yeah, another one of those games where they take like characters from all kinds of different game series and battle it up.
Yep, it's like a Smash Bros. There's a lot of different like games in it, but it's like unless you're a fan of those style games, you're not going to really know. I mean, Dead or Alive characters and Dynasty War characters would be the two most noticeable besides like Ninja Gaiden, but like Samurai Cats, like that's one where I know certain characters or something like that, or Tukoden, stuff like those, but
yeah. But I think that's about it for these 2 weeks. I mean, there's some other games here and there, and
not too much exciting going on, like outside of just the big heavy hitters. But, anyways, just to move on to the last segment, kind of a little bit of a shorter. It's like what we got going on. Church, go for it.
Yeah. So
what you got going on next 2 weeks?
Mass Effect is pretty much what I'll probably be playing for the next little while. I don't think I'll be in 2 weeks, so I will be playing Mass Effect when I get the chance. I think next week I finally got enough to do a little pickup video. So I'll probably be putting out a pickup video next week.
Very sweet.
And then
very sweet.
I think actually right before I go to the convention will be the next episode of the podcast. So
that'll be exciting for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. Hopefully I can squeeze in some time to work on this epic collab that me and Corpse Flood have recorded, and potentially work on another one of my reviews for one of the games that I beat in 2016 that I didn't get to review. But that might be the following week, but we'll see. So what you got coming up here?
Not too much on my end. Just more like kind of like selling and talking more about like, of course, stuff in personal life and trying to get that organized and all that. In terms of like content and stuff like that, I'm planning on hopefully getting some voice recordings done and maybe some a little bit edits on the next Journey video, which is the sniper montage I started. Hopefully getting that done, and then of course just practice and competing, trying to rack up my points for game battles. So that's about it for my end. Yeah, nothing too exciting, but still a lot of production, a lot of stuff going on like that, and trying to move forward in life, my friend. So
right on.
But anyways, guys, that is going to be the closing statement for our 30th episode of the Game Tenants Podcast. We appreciate you guys so much for listening. If you guys do want to get a hold of us, you can go down and to the right if you guys see us on SoundCloud. There will be a bunch of links right there, links to both of our YouTube channels, both of our Twitters, and Church's Twitter or Facebook page, as well as you guys are able to leave comments on all those social medias, including on the SoundCloud site itself on the podcast. And you can check out some of our others over there. And if you guys are on iTunes, you can check us out at @the_GameGrinder and at SirFlynn1 on Twitter, or just Google us or YouTube us. And then for Church's Facebook page, you can find us on, or you can find him over there. And now on YouTube,
Yes.
if you guys go over to Church's channel, you can hear the live recording and comment as well.
Yes, and of course you can check our channels, and we have links to each other, so we're easy to find if you look.
Oh, yeah. And, just get ready for the cheese, get ready for the mayhem, because this has been a year and a half of epicness, and we don't plan on stopping anytime soon, so hope you guys are ready.
Yeah, and hopefully, again, like For some reason, I feel like I got like really like rambly, out of tangent on this episode. So
it happens from time to time. Like I got a little bit with the Call of Duty thing, so we're kind of even on that mode. But that's what we're here for. We talk about stuff we're interested in, kind of inform you guys on some other stuff that we might have some similar interests. So, but we. Like we always say in almost every podcast, if we weren't doing this, on the airwaves, we'd be just sitting in a Skype call doing it for ourselves. So we appreciate you guys for listening, for sure.
Yeah, and if you stuck around for this long, +1 internet to you, and I appreciate it.
Anyways, guys, thanks again for listening. I hope you all have a great night. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Talk to you later.
Peace.